What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Welcome back to Wrestle-MaGiC What If. So Bradley-san,
Yes.
you just gave your opinion on how the Kenny Omega should book WWE. The video is in this. Be booking WWE. The video is in the description. It's very interesting what you had to say. I didn't think about thinking about it like that. However, I think I got you beat on this. I really do.
Oh, I mean, you've probably thought about things a little bit longer than I did.
Well, this is how I'm going to give you a teaser right now. My goal is to book Kenny Omega from the Superstar Shakeup to the main event of WrestleMania 34 with 4 key matches that have to happen in between. We have Omega versus Cena.
Oh, that has to happen.
We have a Bullet Club elimination style tag match for Survivor Series. You have Shinsuke versus Kenny Omega. And then you have the main event of Mania, triple threat, Omega, Styles, and Balor. Future me, let's get into it.
So either you just heard Brad's video or you're watching mine first. If that's the case, you can, after you're done with this video, you can hit the link in the description to watch Brad's. He's done a very interesting job, very, very detailed for the most part. But because I'm a fantasy booking genius, I think I got the upper hand on this one. For the purpose of this video, our goal is to do this. Your goal is to get Kenny Omega from debuting a couple weeks after the Superstar Shakeup to the main event of WrestleMania 34. That is our time slot. That's how we're going to book it. And there are 4 main matches that you have to get out of Kenny Omega in the WWE. Number 1, you have to have a John Cena versus Kenny Omega match. 2, you need a club sort of elimination tag match for Survivor Series. 3, you need a championship match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Kenny Omega. And 4, you have to have it all culminate at the main event of Mania, Kenny Omega versus AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. That triple threat has to happen in the main event of WrestleMania. And it has to happen on SmackDown because the main event for Raw is going to be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. You cannot change that. So this will be your main event match for SmackDown heading into Mania. So, how does Kenny Omega debut? Well, I actually wouldn't have him debut alone. I would actually have him and the Young Bucks debut as a cohesive unit on the paper when the New Day debut. And this will be a very interesting dynamic to try to get all 3 of them. All 3 of them are going to be huge money to get. I get that. But for the purpose of this story, you need all 3 of them, and they are a very great cohesive unit. So our story starts with the New Day. This is after everything in the Superstar Shakeup has happened, and the New Day are still getting hyped for the coming soon. And when they show up on the main roster, it's going to be big, and I will actually have that set at Backlash. The night before Backlash, there's a takeover in Chicago. For this, I would have Adam Cole debut then and become a hot commodity and debut at the end of the Hideo Itami versus Bobby Roode match. Meanwhile, the next night on Backlash, we have the New Day come out as a return since Kofi Kingston's injury, and they come out celebrating to a huge, massive pop, and they give a open challenge to any 3-man team that's back in the locker room. And you hear the new music of Bullet Club. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, the Elite, are in WWE, and they have answered the New Day's challenge. after a very hard fought battle, the Elite win and destroy the New Day, with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks standing tall, with Kenny Omega pinning Xavier Woods after the One Wing Angel. Now at this point, I want to make it perfectly clear that Omega won't really wrestle during the interim between pay-per-views. He'll wrestle 1 or 2 matches, maybe when a number 1 contendership is at stake, but for this specific purpose, he will not be wrestling during main shows so he can be seen as a hot commodity. One of those times he'll actually be fighting on camera will be for Money in the Bank. So it will be a qualifying matches to get into the Money in the Bank ladder match for the WWE Championship. You will have Kenny Omega earn his spot. You will also have AJ Styles in the match. You will also be having, you'll have Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, yes, Jinder Mahal after his championship match at Backlash. And just for a sense of continuity, you get Kofi Kingston from the New Day. For the Money in the Bank ladder match, I would have Kenny Omega win. Kenny Omega will win that and arguably be one of the fastest rising stars in the WWE, and it'll set up his match later on with a very hot commodity known as Shinsuke Nakamura. However, rather than doing that match way too quick, we need Kenny Omega in a big, high-profile feud for fans to also know he means something. So, while Shinsuke Nakamura is chasing the championship in the main event of SummerSlam in a match against Randy Orton, we also have a match between Kenny Omega and John Cena. So how do we get to that match? Well, we'll have Kenny Omega come out with the Young Bucks in tail, and he'll actually be flaunting of how he's the fastest rising star on SmackDown and nobody can touch him. Not a single person can touch him. When we hear the music of John Cena. John Cena comes out, he cuts this passionate promo how Kenny Omega he made a fantastic rise through the ranks, but he still hasn't fought John Cena. Anybody who wants a name for themselves to name in a make or break situation has to go through him. No matter what movie he's off to shoot, he is the person every new star has to go through. He is the gate, he is the person he has to go through. And Kenny Omega takes resentment to this and says, I've been here doing stuff. I've done more in my 2 months you have in the past year that you've been in WWE. What does that say about you, John? This leads us to their match at SummerSlam, and it's very reminiscent of AJ Styles versus John Cena, but it's also reminiscent of how Kenny Omega is trying to hit the One-Winged Angel, but he can't quite get it every time he's trying to hit it. After 3 AAs, John Cena goes for the cover, 1, 2, kicks out, and Kenny Omega will reverse another AA into the One-Winged Angel, and it takes one One-Winged Angel to put out John Cena. Kenny Omega has checked John Cena out on his bucket list at SummerSlam. Meanwhile, earlier on in the card, you have a match between AJ Styles and Finn Balor, which is a brand versus brand match. They realize that they're both excellent competitors, and that match takes place here, which I would have AJ Styles win that with a handshake at the end. I would also later on in the card, have Shinsuke Nakamura beat Randy Orton in a very hard-paced match for the WWE Championship. Shinsuke Nakamura is your new WWE Champion. The night after SummerSlam, it is the official WWE Draft. We have the shake-up after Mania. We have the draft after SummerSlam. And there's 2 crucial moves I would have here. I wouldn't have AJ, Shinsuke, Omega, or the Young Bucks move at all from SmackDown. I would have Balor come in, and I would have Gallows and Anderson come in. This will set up an excellent dynamic for what happens eventually at Survivor Series, which we will be leading to later on, but let's focus on No Mercy. No Mercy will act as our filter between SummerSlam and Survivor Series for SmackDown, and these are the main matches I would have on the card. I would have the Young Bucks face off against the tag team champions at the time, which will be American Alpha, who will win them in a triple threat tag team match against the Usos and the Shining Stars earlier on. I would have the Club be at ringside for that match and just be watching, very interesting to see how they interact. I would also have Finn Balor make his SmackDown pay-per-view debut in a matchup in the WWE Championship match against Shinsuke Nakamura, but he comes up just short. Meanwhile, we'll have AJ Styles taking on Baron Corbin. Reason for that would be Baron Corbin feels like with all these new guys in the Superstar Shakeup passing him over, he wants to be taken as a threat. So he and AJ Styles fight for number one contender for the match at Survivor Series for the WWE Championship, which Baron Corbin wins. And then we have Kenny Omega fighting in a match against Randy Orton. Very high pace, very back and forth, but we have Kenny Omega win that match. After the match, I would have Kenny Omega attack Randy Orton, him and the Young Bucks just destroying Orton, put him through the announce table, and get on the mic and say, "We are the most dominant group in the WWE. Who do you got? Who do you got? Nobody on SmackDown will stop us." And that will bring the ire of Shane McMahon out to try to stop the further assault on Randy Orton with chairs. In trying to stop him, Shane McMahon eats a pair of super kicks from the Young Bucks, as well as a one-winged angel from Kenny Omega. And then Shane McMahon is wheeled out on a stretcher to end No Mercy. The next Tuesday on SmackDown, we have Shane McMahon come out and address the situation when he is interrupted by the Elite, by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and they tell him that we run SmackDown now. There's nobody you can put in our way to stop us. And Shane McMahon says, "I actually have an idea," and you hear Finn Balor's music. And he is flanked by Gallows and Anderson. And he is also interrupted by the music of AJ Styles. Shane McMahon says, "I'll tell you what, you guys find a partner, and you guys will fight AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Gallows and Anderson, Balor Club, at Survivor Series." Meanwhile, in the main event tonight, we're going to have the Young Bucks take on Gallows and Anderson, and you three can be on commentary. The match never comes to a finish because a brawl ensues between all of the competitors, and just when it looks like AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Gallows and Anderson have the upper hand, they hear the music of Adam Cole. And Adam Cole comes up, called up from NXT, to be in this match. It is a club versus club match. You have Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks versus AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Gallows and Anderson. 2 generations of the club fighting in the main event of Survivor Series. Meanwhile, also on Survivor Series, you can have Shinsuke Nakamura fight Baron Corbin, giving him his championship rematch. On the one hand, you have Omega, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks, and on the other hand, you have Styles, Balor, and the club. All 8 of these guys are hammering it home. There's no elimination for a good 20-25 minutes. The Young Bucks eliminate Carl Anderson with a pair of super kicks. Meanwhile, Gallows will big boot the face of Nick Jackson off, and Matt Jackson and Gallows and Anderson eliminate each other after going after each other with a pair of chairs. Here you have the final 4: AJ Styles and Balor, Kenny Omega, and Adam Cole. Well, switch sides. Kenny Omega and Adam Cole, Balor and Styles. And you have Adam Cole eliminated by Finn Balor, but then Finn Balor is quickly eliminated by Kenny Omega. So you had the final 2, Kenny Omega and AJ Styles. and the match will continue for another 10-15 minutes of just high-paced, quick action. And it ends when AJ Styles misses the phenomenal forearm and gets caught and reversed into the One-Winged Angel, and Kenny Omega picks up the win for his team. Have Kenny Omega come out the next Tuesday on SmackDown saying about he is the greatest superstar who ever lived and nobody could beat him and nobody will ever take his championship opportunity away from him. And he takes that and he puts that on such a high pedestal when we hear Shane McMahon's music play. Shane McMahon comes out and he said, forget both clubs, both of the club teams, forget AJ Styles, forget Finn Balor. I need to stop you now. It is my choice that I need to do. The main event for TLC is set. You have Kenny Omega defending his Money in the Bank contract against, of all people, Shane McMahon. Because let's be honest, this is going to happen if Kenny Omega's in, because of course Vince McMahon will put his son against anybody. So this match will be absolutely fantastic. Surprisingly, Shane McMahon will jump off of a really tall ladder and miss onto a pair of the announce tables, allowing Kenny Omega to grab the contract above. He retains it. Meanwhile, you have Shinsuke Nakamura defending his championship in a tables match. Yes, a tables match, rematch against Baron Corbin, which he loses. Meanwhile, for AJ Styles and Finn Balor, they will fight in a tag team ladder match, trying to win the tag team championships from the Young Bucks, but they come up short. Then it is announced that Kenny Omega will be cashing in his championship match at the Royal Rumble. And you will have Shinsuke Nakamura, who is still the WWE champion, defend his championship against Kenny Omega in one of the main events of the Royal Rumble. Meanwhile, you have AJ Styles and Finn Balor both enter the Rumble, which is eventually won by Roman Reigns, which will set up the Raw main event. In this match is a very hard-hitting affair. You have Shinsuke Nakamura trying to fight everything he can, Kenny Omega dominating, which Kenny Omega has to resort to sneaky heel tactics now. He's been able to dominate and win matches on his own accord, but now he has to do some sort of heel thing to make sure the fans boo him, which is impossible, but it might happen. So you have the Young Bucks interfere on his behalf. Kenny Omega is your new WWE champion starting 2018. How cool would that be? This would be great. And the rest of the story almost pretty much writes itself. You have Kenny Omega defend the WWE Championship at the Elimination Chamber, and those opponents I would have some sort of tie to either Nakamura or Omega at some point. So this is who you would have in it. You would have John Cena, Randy Orton, Finn Balor, Nakamura, Omega, and you would have AJ Styles, because he's been the only one who hasn't gotten a championship match at this point, and so it's nice to give him a championship match, and that match is won by AJ Styles. AJ Styles beats Kenny Omega in a back and forth contest, but it was just barely there. I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of problems with this because Kenny Omega shouldn't be a transitional champion, but hear me out. Kenny Omega winning at Royal Rumble is absolutely great, but to further this story and to give them both a reason to want the championship, the title needs to change hands here in order for it to be a triple threat. Meanwhile, earlier on the card, you will have a number one contenders match between Big E of the New Day. You will also have Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn, and Finn Balor in a fatal four-way match, elimination match for the number one contender for the WWE Championship. Whoever wins this will fight the winner of the Elimination Chamber, and that was won by Finn Balor. Next SmackDown, Kenny Omega is demanding a rematch for his championship that he lost in an unfair advantage in a 5-on-1 scenario Kenny Omega is denied this by Shane McMahon, who later on in the night gets attacked by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and almost run over with a car by Kenny Omega with the Young Bucks until he is given what he wants. So the main event is made by threatening Shane McMahon. You have Kenny Omega versus AJ Styles versus Finn Balor in the main event of WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. The Tuesday before the go-home show, I would have all these three men talk about their history together in separate interviews about what they were going through in Japan, how Kenny Omega is the new face. It was the newest face of the club in Japan, how AJ Styles was the man who built it, and how Finn Balor was the one who created it. You had the creator, you had the person who built it up to what it was, and then you had the guy who maintained it, the last guy who was there. So then you have this huge triple threat match going into Mania. A contract signing is held on that very night, and this one is going to end not with a brawl, but with a stare down. You have AJ Styles with the WWE Championship holding on after signing the contract, and you have an intense stare down between him, Omega, and Balor. And that's how you close it off, and that's how you pivot for WrestleMania 34. And that's how I would book it.
So you guys just got finished watching one of our videos. I don't know exactly which one you watched, but be sure, for our own amusement, to like whichever one you liked more. And also check out the other video for either Bradley San or myself in the description below. Also, be sure to check out our Hot Topic, which comes out every Monday, and our Wrestle-MaGiC podcast, which we review wrestling all throughout the week on Fridays, live here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you want to be able to support the show. Our goal is 100 subscribers by the end of 2018. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next time.